Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Titan del 86. Here you will find everything from your favorite characters from anime, series or movies such as figures, statues, trading cards, and other limited special edition items. I will show you everything that is included. For example, we will discuss the design of the box, how it's packaged, the design of the figure, the articulation points, the accessories that are included, and we will see our favorite characters in special scenes. And you never know, you might see other characters make special guest appearances, so you can decide whether it's worth getting or not. Subscribe and join me on new weekly adventures. Now let's start the show. Let's go. Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my channel. My name is Titan del 86 and today from S.H.Figuarts and Yu Yu Hakusho, I present to you Kurama. Looking at the front of the box, you have a cutout of Kurama, and if you look through the window, you can see the figure along with all the expressions that come with him. On the back side of the box, you have Kurama doing several different poses, and it shows you a glimpse of Yusuke because this one comes with a special expression for him. I like how the box is decorated with the red and black matching Kurama's colors. On the last corner of the box, you have Kurama with the rose whip. This is how Kurama appeared in the Dark Tournament saga. He looked really clean. Kurama comes in two blister packs. In the first blister pack, you can see the expressions, the different hand gestures, the accessory rose, and an extra piece for the outfit. And on the second blister pack, it comes with the rose whip. You are getting all the accessories that Kurama is known for, but I would have loved to have seen a second rose. For this one, Kurama comes with the neutral expression, which is one of his character trademarks. He was very keen on not giving away any sign of emotion or expression, and that is because he was a very tactical character, always thinking about his opponent's weaknesses and studying the ways that he would attack and approach the scenario. And watching all his fights, they were always cleverly done. It always gave you the impression that Kurama was losing, but at the end he had that plot twist where he would turn the tides on the opponent. Again, just showing how smart the character really is. For first impressions on the figure, I like the overall layout of how he is done. He does have several sections for the joints, so the articulations should be really great. As you can see the cut lines on the outfit by the shoulders. One thing to note, the outfit is mostly made out of that soft plastic material, similar to what we saw on the Dragon Ball S.H.Figuarts. So it is really good to see that S.H.Figuarts is starting to roll out the strategy across all the brands, and I think on this one it will help just to give the figure more reality. So everything in the yellow is made out of that soft material. One thing that could be a possible problem in the articulations would be the hair. As you can see by the neckline, it is segmented into two sections. So you have an upper piece and a lower piece, and depending on how they did this, it could limit the head motions. The other thing is the hair banks and the lower piece of the hair do seem to be of the softer plastic material versus the main section of the hair that is attached to the back of the head. So let's proceed to see how well the figure does.
If you care to try.
Now let's check out the articulations that we get with this Kurama figure. So he's got good neck movement. This is as high as he can look up, and this is as low, which is very impressive. And you can see the motion that you get on the back piece of the hair. So it looks like he's got angular and he's got good up and down. So maybe I was wrong, and hopefully here you can see how it's attached, which is very loose actually. I would expected that to be a little bit tighter. There's no movement on the hair banks, so it's just soft plastic that flexes. You could also see the neck movement, just so you can see the technique that they use for getting that range of motion on the hair piece. So this is the ring that attaches to the neck feature, but within that ring, you see that? It comes with a ballpoint joint to give you that flexibility and that range of motion for the hair. So this is really good. Look at that. Usually some of the pieces that we've seen here, this is usually one giant piece, which is only free to move by the limiting sections between the neck, the shoulders, and the back side of the hair. But on this one, because it has it as a separate piece, now you can see how it's limited and how it's more freely to move. So this is really good, and I think this is the first figure from S.H.Figuarts that I've seen this done. For the other makers, take note. This is as straight as the arms go. He's got an extension piece here for the shoulder. So you can see. This is the full shoulder range, which is something that I like here. So you can see he is really good at crossing those arms, which most of the figures sometimes usually struggle with this. But this one, he is good. And that is because you can see the double section here where the arm is attached to this piece here, and then you can see the ball joint there. See that? So that is what's helping this full range of motion. It is not an overlay that it just acts as a bypass piece. Here is actually an extra extension. And you can see where the joint is for the actual shoulder movement. Also within the shoulder, it's got another joint here that can do up and down. So even within the shoulder extension, you get an extra set of motion, which is what helps the figure a whole lot. Here's the back side. And again, you have that good help that comes off the shoulder piece, which also allows you to do this type of motion. This is the 360, which is a little bit difficult to get because you're getting more motion from the shoulder extension piece to the main core base versus getting the side piece that is actually the shoulder, as you see here. But you are able to get a 360. You just have to mess with the figure to get that perfect angle. It does have 360 off the bicep. You just gotta make sure it makes sense because you have those cut lines from the outfit. Here's the elbow. 360 off the wrist. You got up and down. You have good torsional rotation. So you can see it's mostly coming from the middle piece between the lower piece of the chest and the upper abs. It's got rotational. And you can see how flexible these pieces are. You just want to be careful not to give it memory. But you can flex it out of the way. So that's as high as the leg goes. That's as rear as the leg goes. And you can see the limiting factor is the outfit. It's got good thigh rotation. Really good split. Look at that. And actually, if you look at the joints, we have seen this style before. We saw this in the S.H.Figuarts Akasa figure. So you can kind of see again that full articulation rollout into the other brands. So this is what's giving the figure a really good articulation on the lower half. Here's the full knee. Again, you have two sections. So this is the first one, and this is the second one. You can halfway get it there, but it's not there all the way. But it's good. You have 360 off the ankle. Pull down all the way up. There's your toes. Which again is really good. And depending on the angle, you can get inboard and outboard to a certain degree. You see that? So overall articulations, this figure is really good. I am impressed. And there you have it. Here's a close-up of all the expressions that come with Kurama along with the rose. The first expression is neutral with his eyes looking to his left. The second one is another neutral expression, but this time the eyes are center. The middle one is one of Yusuke's goofy expressions where the eyes are really wide and he's got tears coming down. The next one is Kurama's grunting expression. The last one is an action expression. So overall, he's got a good array of expressions, and I like that they gave us another Yusuke one. So again, it's forcing your hands to get that S.H.Figuarts from Yusuke in case you haven't gotten it. And if you haven't seen my review, I suggest you go check it out. And I know they already did a second release for it. So if you missed it the first time, you had another chance to get it. So I'm sure that figure is going to get released several different times as we go through this whole S.H.Figuarts saga. For this scene, I have Kurama fighting Aphrodita. And you can see Yusuke in the background. I gave Kurama the neutral expression where he is looking towards his left. I gave Aphrodita the expression where the eyes are closed. And Yusuke's got the goofy one with the tears coming down his eyes, which is the special expression that is included with this Kurama. So for this scene, the dark tournament is about to start and you have Kurama versus Aphrodita. Who will win? Let me know in the comments who you're putting your money on. And this is a cross collaboration between Yu Yu Hakusho and Saint Seiya. Here I have Aphrodite sporting the surplus armor of pieces, and you have Kurama with the outfit that he showed up with towards the end of the tournament. And same thing for Yusuke. If you haven't seen my video of Yusuke, I suggest you go check them out, just so you can see how good that figure is, and you can see some comparisons of improvements between that Yusuke figure versus the Kurama figure. And again, looking back at the Kurama figure, how they did the hair, where the technique has not been rolled out on the Senseiya myth cloth figures yet. And you know they're capable of doing it. But anyways, back to the story. For this scene, I have both fighters ready to square up, and these two characters have a lot of more similarities than you would think. First of all, they're both fighters that use plant type attacks. For example, and very specifically towards the roses. You can see that Kurama already withdrew his rose in one arm, but Aphrodite has two. He's got one of his rosas pirañas, which is the black one, and then he's got one of his deadly roses, which is the white one. If you remember, the white one usually sucks up the blood out of the victims, while the piranha black rose is mostly for tearing apart the enemies. So Kurama is up against a very formidable opponent, and that is why Yusuke is freaking out in the background. But let's see who wins between these two fearsome fighters. Again, Kurama has some really good techniques that he showed throughout the series, but what made him really deadly was his knowledge, which is something that in his fight with Toya, which alluded to of how many years of experience Kurama had in the battlefield, making him a very deadly opponent to go up against, which again goes back to when they go back into the demon world, where Yume wanted Kurama as his second in command general. For this scene, I have Kurama with the action expression, and he is holding the rose whip. One thing that he was able to do is, once he got the rose from the back of his hair, he was able to convert it into a giant vine full of thorns that he used as a whip, which is one of Kurama's signature moves, which then would allow Kurama to have fights from a distance, which helped him not only for offense but also defense. One thing to note for the rose whip is made out of plastic, and certain sections are divided so you can rotate the thorns around. The whole thing has a metal rod inside of it that is flexible. This is similar to the ones used when you go to the store and you buy those fake flowers that they use for the stems and the leaves, where you could actually bend them to any angle to give it the appearance of a lifelike plant. So the technique that they use here is no different than that. So this is a nice little feature that they thought outside the box. The one thing to be cautious that I didn't like about this is that the rod that they use is somewhat heavy to the figure. So depending on the angle, you're going to be putting a lot of pressure on the wrist, where the whole wrist might detach from the figure or the whip might come off the hand. The other thing that I did here is I swapped out the back side of the outfit to show the articulated one in action. One thing that I noticed is to remove it, you just have to be very careful to make note of which one's the front piece and which one's the rear piece, because the two pieces look very similar on the non-articulated version, but if you look at it, the one in the rear has a little bit more wrinkles than the one in the front. For this scene, I have Kurama with the grunting expression, and I also have him in a somewhat of a defense pose. Here you can see that he managed to get the helmet off of Aphrodite. And Yusuke is still in the background. This guy has been freaking out the entire match. I have no clue what's wrong with Yusuke. One thing I did on this particular pose is Kurama comes with a second set of hairbands. So this is the second version, where the hairbands are more towards the side versus being straight up and down. The other thing I did on the outfit, I swapped out the piece that showed the outfit in motion. So this time I placed it on the front side, and I did that to show you that all three of these pieces can be swapped out. Overall, I really like this Kurama figure. It basically touched everything that the character is to how he was displayed in the anime. I like the outfit that they picked. I think out of all the outfits that Kurama wore, this one was one of my favorite ones. I would like to see another Kurama figure in his normal magenta outfit, which is his cool color uniform. I am hoping that at some point S.H.Figuarts will give us Yoko Kurama, and hopefully that one comes with more of the accessories that Yoko Kurama displayed when he was fighting Karasu. Let me know in the comments who you think won this fight between Aphrodite versus Kurama. And no, I wouldn't take a hint that Kurama is beating Aphrodite just because he took the helmet. Again, remember, Kurama is the main star on this particular episode. So who knows, maybe I'll have Kurama when I do the unboxing and the review of Aphrodite and his surprise armor. So stay tuned on it. I know it's a figure that I had for a while, but for now, you have Kurama. Here, Kurama is probably thinking, dang, I almost had him. It's not that easy to fight a Knight of Athena, as Kurama is quickly learning, and you can just see Yusuke still freaking out in the background, just going through all the emotions. This is all I have for you today. If you like what you have seen, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, share the video, and I'll see you next week with a brand new one. Thank you and bye.
He's no fool. Why won't he protect himself? A few more steps, the petals will engulf him and cut him to shreds.